The rain pounded against the windshield like a relentless drumbeat as Emily Harper gripped the steering wheel, navigating the slick lanes of Interstate 5 just outside Seattle, Washington. It was Christmas evening, and the world outside blurred into a gray haze of headlights and taillights whipping by. Her 8-year-old son, Lucas, hummed softly in the back seat, his small hands fiddling with a fresh pack of markers he'd unwrapped that morning. They were heading home after a modest holiday lunch at her sister's place in Tacoma. Nothing fancy. Just turkey sandwiches and laughter to chase away the quiet ache of another year without his dad. But then, up ahead on the shoulder, Emily spotted it, an older SUV sagging awkwardly, hazard lights pulsing faintly through the downpour. An elderly man and woman stood beside it, huddled under a flimsy umbrella that the wind kept inverting, their faces etched with frustration and a hint of fear. Without hesitation, Emily flicked on her blinker and eased onto the shoulder, her tires crunching over gravel mixed with puddles. "Stay put, buddy," she told Lucas, twisting around to flash him a reassuring smile. "Mommy's gonna help these folks real quick." The cold hit her like a slap as she stepped out, the wind whipping her ponytail and soaking her hoodie in seconds. She jogged over, her sneakers splashing through shallow streams forming on the asphalt. "Hey, you okay?" "Looks like a flat," she called out over the roar of passing semis. The man, his silver hair plastered to his forehead, nodded gratefully. "Yeah. Damn tire blew out. We've been here 20 minutes, no one stopped." His wife, wrapped in a thin coat, clutched his arm tighter, her eyes wide with the vulnerability of age caught in chaos. Emily didn't waste time. She popped her trunk for the jack and lug wrench, tools she'd kept handy since learning the hard way after her divorce. Kneeling in the mud, water seeping into her jeans, she wrestled with the jack, her muscles straining against the wet metal. The lug nuts were stubborn, rusted from years of Pacific Northwest dampness, and each turn felt like grinding through concrete. Her arms burned, rain stinging her eyes, but she pushed on, gritting her teeth as the wind howled mockingly. Halfway through, Lucas cracked the door and peeked out. "Mom, can I help?" he yelled, but she waved him back. Moments later, though, he darted out anyway, clutching a folded sheet of construction paper. "Here," he shouted, thrusting it at the woman with a shy grin. It was his latest masterpiece, a lopsided snowman under twinkling stars, scribbled with "Happy Holidays from Lucas and Mom" in wobbly letters. The woman unfolded it carefully, her expression melting from worry to wonder. She knelt despite the rain, pulling Lucas into a quick hug. "Oh, sweetie, this is beautiful. Thank you." The man, who introduced himself as Harold Benson, tried slipping Emily a 50 from his wallet once the spare was on. "For your trouble, please." But she shook her head firmly, wiping grime from her hands. "No way. It's Christmas, consider it my gift." His wife, Evelyn, echoed the plea, but Emily held her ground, insisting kindness didn't come with a price tag. As she drove off, watching them wave in the rearview, she felt a quiet glow amid the chill. Just a small thing, she thought, in a world that often felt too big and indifferent. Back in their cozy but cramped apartment in Everett, life resumed its familiar rhythm. Emily worked as a medical billing specialist at a community clinic, poring over codes and claims that blurred together after long hours hunched at a desk. Her salary hovered around $55,000, enough to cover rent on their 2-bedroom, but always stretched thin by groceries that seemed to double in price overnight and unexpected hits like Lucas's asthma inhalers. The divorce from her ex, Derek Lawson, 3 years back had been a slow bleed, his promises of support fading into sporadic child support checks, leaving her to juggle everything solo. Derek had moved to Portland, Oregon, a 4-hour drive south that he rarely made, citing work excuses that rang hollow. Their split stemmed from his chronic unreliability, forgotten birthdays, bounce checks, eroding trust until Emily couldn't take the emotional whiplash anymore. Parenting Lucas alone brought joys that lit up her days, his infectious giggle during movie nights, the way he'd curl up with her to read bedtime stories about brave knights. But shadows lingered, the worry when he asked why Dad didn't call more, or the guilt when she skipped her own needs to afford his soccer cleats. Finances were a tightrope. The apartment's finicky heater meant bundling in extra blankets during winter storms, and credit card balances climbed from car repairs she couldn't predict. Her family helped where they could, her mom, Linda, in nearby Linwood, dropping off casseroles, her brother, Mike, in Bellevue, offering handyman fixes. But Emily carried the weight, determined to give Lucas stability she hadn't had growing up. 10 days into the new year, her phone buzzed incessantly while she brewed coffee before work. It was her mom, voice breathless. "Emily, turn on the news, Channel 7. Now." Fumbling the remote, Emily switched it on mid-segment. There sat Harold and Evelyn Benson on a morning talk show set, looking polished in tailored clothes. The host gushed about them as retired tech pioneers. Harold had founded a software firm in the 90s that sold for millions, though they'd shunned the limelight since. Evelyn held up Lucas's drawing, her voice trembling. "This little boy and his mom changed our tire in a storm on Christmas. No one else stopped. It reminded us of humanity after losing our daughter to cancer years ago." Harold announced a $20,000 reward for the angel who'd helped, showing a grainy traffic cam shot of Emily's car. The studio erupted in applause. Emily's mug slipped from her hand, shattering on the tile. Her mom confirmed on the line, "That's you, honey." Shock rippled through her. She hadn't recognized them in the rain. "And now this?" Lucas bounced in, eyes wide. "Mom, are we famous?" The Benson's team tracked her down via the license plate Harold had noted. A sleek limo arrived that afternoon, whisking them to their gated estate in Bellevue's upscale hills. Evelyn enveloped Lucas in a hug at the door, leading him to the den where his drawing hung framed above the fireplace. "It's our treasure now," she whispered. Over tea, they shared their grief. Their daughter's battle had left them reclusive. Holidays hollow. Emily's act had pierced that isolation. Harold presented the check, but Emily hesitated. "I didn't do it for money." They insisted gently. "Let us give back what you've given us, hope." Accepting felt surreal. A lifeline that could clear debts and start a savings fund. Words spread fast. Neighbors clapped her on the back. Co-workers threw a potluck. Lucas's school hailed her as a hero. And for the first time, Emily felt the grind lift, buying him art supplies without wincing at the cost. But then Derek called, his voice oily. "Saw the news. That drawing's from our kid, half's mine for his future." The lawsuit hit days later, claiming marital contribution rights. Online trolls piled on, painting Emily as selfish. The stress gnawed at her, sleepless nights, appetite gone. Mike drove over, staying to buffer the chaos, his steady presence at anchor as she wept over fears of losing it all. The lawsuit papers arrived like a gut punch, sealed in a manila envelope that Emily tore open with trembling hands at her kitchen table. Derek's lawyer, a sharp-suited type from Portland named Victor Klein, laid out the case in cold legalese. The reward stemmed from an act involving their shared child, thus qualifying as communal asset under lingering divorce clauses. He demanded $10,000, plus fees, or they drag it to court. Emily stared at the words until they blurred, her coffee growing cold beside her. How could something so pure twist into this? She thought of the rain-slicked highway, Lucas's innocent gift, now ammunition in Derek's grasp. Public opinion shifted overnight. What started as heartwarming shares on social media morphed into heated debates. Comments flooded local news sites. The ex has a point. It's for the kid. She's hugging the heroism. Strangers eyed her at the grocery store, whispering. At work, whispers turned to awkward silences in the break room. Emily's boss pulled her aside. Sympathetic but firm. Take some time if you need, but keep it from affecting patients. Nights blurred into anxiety spirals. What if court costs ate the reward? What if Lucas heard the ugliness? Her brother Mike showed up unannounced that weekend, duffel bag in hand. I'm crashing here till this blows over, he declared, hugging her tight. His presence was a balm. He handled school drop-offs, cooked hearty pasta dinners that filled the apartment with garlic scents, and sat up late with Emily, dissecting the mess over herbal tea. Derek's always been a taker, Mike said one evening. His jaw set. But you're the fighter. We'll beat this. His words steadied her, reminding her of childhood scraps where he'd had her back against bullies. A week in, her phone rang with a California area code, Evelyn Benson. Voice laced with steel. We heard about your ex. It's outrageous. Emily poured out the story, voice cracking. Evelyn listened. Then, Harold and I lost our girl to greed in a way. Medical bills. Insurance fights. We won't let this happen to you. By morning, their high-powered attorneys, veterans of corporate battles, had Klein on the line. Whispers of countersuits and media exposure made him fold. The withdrawal papers arrived express. No contest. Relief washed over Emily like the first sun after a storm. She slept deeply that night, dreams free of courtrooms. Days later, Harold called with more. We've set up a $80,000 college fund for Lucas, untouchable by anyone but him. Tears streamed as Emily thanked him. It was security she'd never dared dream. Then came the job tip. A friend of Harold's ran a larger clinic in Seattle, needing a senior coordinator. Emily nailed the interview, landing $75,000 annually with flexible hours and solid benefits. The raise meant no more scrimping on Lucas's art classes or worrying about copays. Invitations to the Bensons' home followed. Monthly drives to their lakeside retreat where Lucas splashed in the pool while Emily and Evelyn swapped stories on the patio. Evelyn's tales of startup chaos and the tech boom. Emily's quiet triumphs as a mom. Harold mentored Lucas on simple coding, his patience drawing out the boy's curiosity. Bonds formed organically, like family pieced together from chance. Years slipped by in this new cadence. Emily and Lucas upgraded to a sunny townhouse in Kirkland, its backyard perfect for Lucas's growing easel setups. He thrived straight A's. A spot on the junior soccer team. Friends over for sleepovers filled with laughter. Questions about Derek faded. The man had ghosted after the lawsuit flop. His attempts at contact blocked. Emily dated sporadically, but her heart stayed guarded, focused on the life she'd rebuilt. The Bensons aged gracefully, their visits north becoming traditions, Easter egg hunts in the garden, summer barbecues with grilled salmon fresh from the market. They shared vulnerabilities, Harold's quiet regrets over workaholic years, Evelyn's ongoing grief softened by time. One crisp fall, they appeared on a national podcast, recounting the highway miracle, holding Lucas's now-faded drawing. Evelyn's voice broke. It healed us when we thought nothing could. They upped his fund to $200,000 and seeded Emily's idea for a nonprofit aiding single parents with grants and workshops. Derek's fallout was swift and self-inflicted. Legal bills buried him in debt, costing his sales job amid bad press, labeling him opportunistic. Courts revoked his partial custody after reviewing his patterns, granting Emily full rights. His final email, a half-hearted apology, went unanswered. She deleted it, closing that chapter for good. Reflecting on that rainy Christmas, Emily marveled at the ripples. One stopped birthing abundance. Greed's backlash exposing true colors. It whispered that vulnerability invited grace, while entitlement bred ruin. As the seasons turned, Emily found herself weaving the Bensons into the fabric of her and Lucas's life with effortless warmth. Their Bellevue estate, with its sprawling views of Lake Washington, became a second home. Lucas, now 10, would bound through the grand foyer, straight to the sunroom where Evelyn kept a stash of fresh sketch pads and colored pencils just for him. "Look what I drew," he'd exclaim, unfolding scenes of futuristic cities or mythical beasts, his imagination boundless. Evelyn would study each one with genuine awe, pinning favorites to a corkboard that grew crowded with his art. Harold, ever the tinkerer, set up a mini workshop in the garage, teaching Lucas basic electronics, wiring simple circuits that made LEDs blink like holiday lights. The boy's eyes lit up with discovery, echoing Harold's own youthful passion for innovation. Emily cherished the quiet moments with Evelyn over chamomile tea on the wraparound porch, watching sailboats to the lake. Conversations meandered from lighthearted, Evelyn's hilarious mishaps at early tech conferences, to profound, like the raw edges of loss that still caught them off guard. After Sarah passed, Evelyn confided one afternoon, voice soft against the rustling leaves. "We built walls. Your kindness cracked them open." Emily shared her own scars, the isolation of single motherhood, the sting of Derek's betrayals. These exchanges forged a trust deeper than blood, a mutual healing in shared vulnerability. Back in Kirkland, Emily's new role at the clinic blossomed. No longer buried in entry-level drudgery, she oversaw teams, streamlining processes that sped up patient care. Colleagues respected her sharp eye for detail, and the flexible schedule meant attending Lucas's games without guilt. Finances stabilized, debts vanished. An emergency fund grew, and she even splurged on a family vacation to Disneyland, Lucas's screams of joy on the roller coasters etching permanent smiles in her memory. The nonprofit took root slowly but surely. With the Bensons' seed money, Emily launched Harbor Hands, offering emergency grants for single parents facing evictions or medical bills. She partnered with local shelters, hosting workshops on budgeting and resume building. Volunteers poured in after a feature in the Seattle Times highlighted her story. One evening, as Emily reviewed applications, a mom needing car repairs to keep her job, she felt a profound shift. This wasn't just survival, it was paying forward the grace she'd received. Lucas matured into a thoughtful preteen, his art evolving from crayons to digital tablets Harold gifted. School reports glowed. Creative leader, empathetic peer. Soccer practices turned competitive. But he balanced it with volunteering at Harbor Hands, stuffing care packages with a seriousness that made Emily's heart swell. "Like you helped those people, Mom," he'd say, echoing the highway moment that started it all. Derek's shadow receded entirely. After the lawsuit's collapse, rumors trickled through mutual acquaintances. He'd lost his apartment to foreclosure, bounced between gigs in Portland's gig economy. A final court hearing, prompted by Emily's petition, stripped his visitation permanently, citing instability. His outreach, a rambling voicemail pleading for one more chance, met deletion. Freedom tasted sweet. Emily focused on the present, unburdened. The Bensons' health held steady, though Harold's arthritis slowed his golf swings. They traveled north for Lucas's milestones, his 11th birthday party with a magician that had everyone in stitches. Thanksgiving feasts where Evelyn's famous pecan pie rivaled Emily's stuffing. In return, Emily hosted them for casual weekends, hikes in the Cascades, where autumn leaves crunched underfoot and conversations flowed like old friends. A pivotal moment came during a national TV special on acts of kindness that changed lives. The Bensons, poised on the couch, retold their tale. The storm, the stranger's aid, the drawing that mended hearts. Cameras lingered on the framed artwork, Evelyn's tears genuine. We've doubled the fund to $400,000 for Lucas's dreams, Harold announced, and expanded Emily's charity with another grant. Viewers flooded donations. Harbor Hands grew overnight. Emily watched from home. Lucas snuggled beside her, pride radiating. "That's us," he whispered, awestruck. The broadcast sparked reflections, how one pause in the rain birthed chains of good, while Derek's grasp for more led to less. It posed silent questions. What if more chose kindness over claim? With Harbor Hands gaining traction, Emily's days filled with purpose beyond the clinic. Mornings buzzed with grant reviews, stories of resilience mirroring her own, a dad juggling night shifts after losing his spouse, a mom escaping abuse with kids in tow. Afternoons brought community events, like back-to-school drives where Lucas handed out backpacks, his empathy shining. Evenings wound down with calls from Evelyn, brainstorming expansions, online resources, mentorship programs. "You're building what we wished existed for us," Evelyn said once, voice thick with emotion. Lucas hit 12, his world expanding. Art classes at the community center honed his skills. He won a local contest with a digital portrait of Evelyn, capturing her gentle smile. Soccer evolved into travel teams, weekends on fields where cheers echoed his growing confidence. Friends became fixtures, sleepovers with video games and pizza, laughter spilling from his room. Emily navigated the tween phase with patience, addressing rare moods with hikes where they'd talk openly about feelings, strengthening their bond. The Bensons integrated seamlessly. Harold's birthday surprise, a family trip to San Francisco. Cable cars clanging as Lucas sketched the Golden Gate. Evelyn shared recipes during visits, teaching Emily her secret apple crisp that filled the townhouse with cinnamon warmth. Health scares loomed, a mild heart flutter for Harold, but Emily's clinic connections ensured top care, reciprocating their support. Derek's downfall solidified in whispers, bankruptcy filings, a move to cheaper digs in Eugene. Old friends distanced, his reputation as the greedy ex stuck. Emily's full custody sealed peace, no more erratic calls disrupting routines. She dated a kind teacher named Alex. Met through Harbor Hands, slow dates bloomed into companionship, adding light without pressure. A landmark came via a TEDx talk invitation for Emily, the ripple of roadside kindness. On stage, spotlights warm, she recounted the highway stop, the unexpected gifts, the charity's impact. One act sparked healing for 2 families, she said, voice steady. The Bensons watched online, texting pride. Post-talk, donations surged. Harbor Hands hired staff, opening a second location. Years layered on gently. Lucas at 14 dove into high school, art club president, varsity soccer starter. His questions about Derek surfaced rarely, met with honest but kind answers. He made choices that took him away. But we've got our team. Emily's career peaked, promoted to director. Salary hitting 6 figures. Allowing vacations to Hawaii where waves crashed and worries dissolved. The Bensons, in their 80s, slowed but spirited. Joint holidays became sacred, Christmases recreating the drawing moment with new art exchanges. Evelyn's memoir, dedicated to Emily, detailed their journey, lost to renewal. Sales funded scholarships through Harbor Hands. Tragedy tested bonds when Harold passed peacefully in his sleep. Evelyn's grief raw. Emily flew down immediately, holding her through services. The will revealed generosity, a trust boosting Lucas's fund to $600,000, plus endowments for the charity. Evelyn moved north, into a guest suite Emily prepared, her presence a daily comfort, storytelling sessions with Lucas, garden tending together. Reflecting, Emily saw the tapestry, kindness as catalyst, greed as cautionary echo. It left lingering queries. How might one choice alter fates? Evelyn's relocation to Kirkland infused the townhouse with a grandmotherly glow. Mornings started with her brewing coffee, sharing Hollywood-era tales, tech moguls mingling with stars, that captivated Lucas over breakfast. Afternoons, she'd join Harbor Hands events, her poise inspiring volunteers. Evenings wound down with board games, laughter bridging generations. Lucas, now 16, balanced AP classes and soccer with part-time charity work, his maturity evident in essays about empathy that earned scholarships. Emily's relationship with Alex deepened. A quiet proposal over lakeside picnic led to an intimate wedding. The Bensons' estate hosting. Evelyn walked her down the aisle. Harold's photo on the altar. Blended family life flowed. Alex's steady hand in home repairs. His encouragement for Emily's expanding role at the clinic. Harbor Hands nationalized. Branches in Portland and Tacoma, aiding thousands. Media features lauded Emily as visionary, but she credited the highway spark. Lucas's college acceptance to UCLA's art program came with full rides, his fund untouched for grad school dreams. Evelyn passed at 90, peacefully in her sleep. Her final words to Emily, "You gave us family again." The estate's bequest, millions to Harbor Hands. Ensuring legacy. Lucas, graduating summa cum laude, launched a graphic novel series on kindness's power, dedicating it to the Bensons. Derek's end filtered through news, isolated in a rundown apartment. Regrets voiced in an ignored letter. His absence underscored contrasts, generosity's bloom versus avarice's wilt. Years on. Emily, retired with Alex, mentored at Harbor Hands. Lucas, a successful artist with his own family. Grandkids' drawings echoed the original. Framed beside it, the story lingered, a rainy stop birthing enduring good, posing eternal queries. What unseen ripples does your kindness create? And what shadows does greed cast?